So I'm here with Chris Anderson, who is the steward, the curator, the visionary behind what TED has become, the last bunch of decades. How many years is TED now?
Well, I've been doing it 24 years.
24.
It's 41 years old.
Yeah, and you got behind some ideas that would not have gone viral, scale, would not have had the impact that they've had. Thank you for your leadership. I know you've picked climate, or I'm not totally clear on how you define it, but you've picked a topic of all the hundreds, infinite, that you've backed to double down on. Can you share what is that idea and why do you think it's so timely? And in terms of action, this is imagination action. It's about exponential ideas and what's the human dimension of it. I'd like you to explain that aspect of the idea.
Sure.
But first, tell us the idea.
Well, for Front Rows at TED, it's been clear for a while that many of the smartest people in the world, their number one concern is climate. I've certainly become obsessed with the topic in recent years. And I like solutions, John. So I don't understand very well the world of government and how that works. What I do understand a bit is the world of entrepreneurship, people with a dream who can figure out how to build something that just works better than what we have. And so I've got excited about thinking of the pathway to tackle the worst effects of climate, basically through dynamic breakthrough startup companies, climate companies. We've already seen this happen in the world, in solar and wind, electric cars. They have forced change just by producing better business models. But there's 40 or so other key sectors of the economy where that same process has to happen, and it hasn't happened yet.
And you think you can jumpstart it?
But that's the hope. So it's ships, it's airplanes, it's green steel, green cement. It's all kinds of things going on in agriculture, better meat type products and stuff. There's just so many things that are needed.
And there are probably some things we need to unlock creativity that we don't even know about, and you want to back those. But we need to give people license to dream.
So the truth is there are hundreds of amazing climate companies out there with the right ideas to reshape the future, but they're running into this terrible problem, which is the valley of death. It's the funding for the first big commercial proof point, which is typically like maybe $100 million check to build the big geothermal plant or the factory that will make your new carbon zero widget. This is too big a check for VCs, and it's too risky a check for the infrastructure funding out there. So it's stuck in the middle. It's this problem in the middle, the missing middle they call it. And I think it's solvable by collaboration between late stage money and early stage money. And fundamentally, what's needed is the creation of an index fund that pools together a large number of these companies. And I think it's possible to build that fund by tapping into the existing brilliance of the VCs that are out there. They have identified the companies, and you could have a fund which, if 3 or more VCs came together and said, we will get half of the way to this $100 million check that is needed, this fund automatically pays the other half.
So let me just ask you, you're wildly successful in your TED community. I feel like I have a PhD in your TED. I've watched you take the Audacious Prize into something that someone got. Sylvia Earle's here today, that she's a recipient of it. I think last year you raised $2 billion for an array, or $1 billion. For $1 billion, $2 billion. I mean, there's a difference, but once you get to $1 billion,
what's the billion between friends?
How is that different than what you're talking about? Because is what you're talking about is that part of that, or do you feel like we need to double down on this topic because it's not getting through? Right.
So the Audacious project is aimed at the non-profit world. I think there's incredible ideas out there by social entrepreneurs to make a huge difference. Eliminate a disease or tackle some giant problem, create a new science. That's what the Audacious project is for, and that's been successful. But in the for-profit world, like climate, I think, is mostly going to have to be addressed by the for-profit world, because that's where the big money is. That's what can scale. And so we have to create these businesses that can do that and can shake up the existing business models and turn them into carbon zero models, essentially. But what it has in common with the Audacious project is that the idea emerged by bringing people together. When you bring amazing people together across a number of fields and encourage them to dream and to collaborate, extraordinary ideas can happen. And that's what happened at this convening I did recently of 150 climate entrepreneurs and investors. They all feel this is a very intense problem, and this is a solution that got people very excited.
Great.
And so I actually think it's going to happen.
So just in closing, you're here at Imagination Action. Imagination Action is part of a bigger effort. In November, around Veterans Day, we do a summit called Planet Action at MIT, where we look for ideas that can scale by the end of the decade. Not in 100 years, not rounding errors. We just want things that we think can scale by the end of the decade. And we have people present that, and then the best of that we bring here to present on the world stage. And I'm wondering if this platform is something that might be helpful to what you're doing, because is there a synergy here, at Imagination Action with what you're doing?
I mean, it might well be. Like, it's, for me, our initiative is called All Aboard. It literally is going to take many, many people to make this happen. And it's entrepreneurs, it's venture funders, it's later stage funders, it's anyone who's a catalyst in the space. That's what it takes. As a community, we have to get together and get these startups to scale, because it's only at scale, one, that they make an impact, but two, that their business models start working. It's as you scale a company, the costs come down and you can compete. And so if you're going to go up against all the existing business as usual, which is destroying our planet, you need visionary people to come together and get those companies to scale. I think that can happen, and it's on that timetable you're talking about. This will be at scale by the end of this decade, for sure.
And I think with AI, it'll help refine these ideas and help scale them in a way that we haven't seen ever before. So your timing for this, given we have the challenge as a potential existential threat for our species, planet's going to be fine.
Funnily enough,
thank you for doing this now.
Funnily enough, that AI's much criticized hunger for energy is actually going to help you, because it's going to fire up the business models of clean energy startups. So the nuclear companies, the geothermal companies will be brought to scale by AI,
Great.
I think.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, John.
You've been Chris Anderson. If you're watching this, write in your diary. You just heard Chris Anderson live from Davos. Thank you.